Let me be clear, this video is not for everybody, and it goes way beyond looking for a job in 2026. It's much deeper than that, because I'm only speaking to the people that can still feel the sadness, the stress, the pain of not getting the job they felt could change everything for them. The people who in their minds, the interview went great. They gave it everything they had. They felt confident that the job was theirs. But sadly, regardless of the degrees, the loyalty, all the late nights, regardless of being open-minded or optimistic, you realize it can all disappear with one email that starts with, "We regret to inform you." People who did everything right are starting to wonder if maybe they're the problem. PhDs are getting ghosted, executives are being laid off, and college grads, the ones who were told that their world was waiting for them, are staring at entry-level roles that somehow require 5 years of experience. In 2026, getting hired isn't about who applies first. To actually get the job of your dreams, you're going to need to stop walking into interviews like an employee and start walking in like a partner. Today, I'm breaking down why every interview you walk into from this point on will be a B2B pitch, and how to make them remember your name long after you're gone. Welcome to episode 33 of Everything Entrepreneurship. Kyle Jerome Carter, now known as Entrepreneurship's Best Kept Secret. This is the podcast, the place, the home for ambitious employees that are building their dreams in between meetings, after work, and before the sun rises. In this episode, I'm breaking down how you will stand out and give yourself the highest chance of getting the job of your dreams. So again, if you've been rejected after having a good interview, or for any reason in 2026 you might need a job, this episode is for you. And I want to take a quick moment to say thank you to everybody that's been supporting and hitting that subscribe button. I have seen such a big push from friends and family, and it really makes me so happy. Not just that they watch the content, but the fact that they found value and that they're truly motivated to send it to somebody else. I've been called like it's 100 people, maybe like 10, 15 people have said, "No, you really are entrepreneurship's best kept secret." And I'm like, I don't need to be a secret. We can let everybody know, but it's my job to make sure that these thumbnails and titles are good enough so that YouTube allows it to go to as many people as possible. So you can help that as well by hitting that subscribe, sharing it with somebody else. But without further ado, I'm going to make this an efficient episode. Now, let me say this is episode 2 of a 2-part series. In the first video, I showed you exactly how you can get the experience for the job. But now this is tackling how to get the job from the interview. Now, when I say that you can no longer go in thinking it's a job interview, but a B2B pitch, what do I mean? For those of you that don't know, B2B basically means business to business. You typically have business to business or business to consumer, right? So my marketing agency is B2B. We're not going after consumers to do marketing for individuals, unless it's like a well-known brand or something like that. We're B2B. All of our marketing, all of our correspondence, everything is catered business to business, right? What I'm doing right now, for instance, building my brand, talking to you, is B2C, business to consumer or business to customer. And there's a lot of differences between an actual job interview and B2B, especially when it comes to when you go into that interview or when you go into that pitch to sell yourself so that you can get that job. In a job interview, you're basically being evaluated. In a B2B pitch, you're evaluating fit. In a job interview, you're selling yourself. In a B2B pitch, you're positioning a solution. In a job interview, the goal is hire me. In a B2B pitch, the goal is let's partner. Here's how I can solve your problem. In a job interview, the power dynamic is they hold the authority. In a B2B pitch, the power dynamic is you bring authority through preparation and insight. And lastly, in a job interview, the mindset is I hope I meet their expectations. Whereas in a B2B pitch, the mindset is I already understand their goals. Here's how I can help them reach them faster, right? Now, on a surface level, that might seem intimidating to some that are like, you know what, I just need a job. I just need to make some money, right? But if you're an ambitious professional that's following me, it's much more than a job. It's about a career, whether it's the same industry you're in, regardless. And like I said, there are a couple caveats. I'm talking primarily to those mid to high level positions, not entry level. This can be entry level. But I'm not talking about you're going to do this if you're going into McDonald's. I'm always picking on McDonald's. Why am I always picking on one of the biggest companies in the world? I don't know. But with that being said, you're able to see the difference, not just the mindset, but the approach between going into something as if it's a job interview compared to if it is a business to business or a B2B pitch. Just like last time, and to help it sink in, I'm going to give you another story. this is another true example that I like to tell people whenever I'm talking in or around this here, right? So for this episode, I compile my notes to say, you know what, this is what I've been teaching. This is the best way that I can frame it so that I can teach it to mass repeatedly and take different perspectives so that people can benefit from it, not just this time, but if I bring it up again or if I'm doing it at a workshop, whatever it might be. Whew. Quick story. So, as you know, my company's marketing agency. From time to time, I might take on like a passion project. Passion project is like, for instance, if a friend is like, "Hey, I got this business. I'm trying to get off the ground. What do you think about it?" Not just some consulting, but you know what? They need some help with their branding, messaging, positioning, whatever it might be. Something small, right? So I had somebody in my circle reach out to me, say, "Hey, I know this place not that far away from you that's hiring, and they need a marketing person." In which I said, "That's cool. It doesn't pertain to me." Do they need a company or do they want a person? He's like, I know, but I think they need a person. Um, I don't know them personally, but I know them through mutual friends. You should reach out. Which I said, okay, cool, I'll reach out. So I take the information from my friend to reach out, call, didn't answer. So I sent an email. Hey, this is Jerome Carter, known mutually through blank. Looks like you're looking for this marketing position. Reach out to me when you can. So he calls me, we get on the phone, and we have a nice long conversation in which he's basically going over the position itself. Like, okay, no, we really need help. We have a sister company as well, so it'd be for both companies. We need somebody that can just do everything from marketing to like social media. You know, we have an email list. On top of that, we're trying to break into another tier for this type of business. Are you familiar with this type of business? And basically, the conversation is going well, in which I tell him, okay, that's fine. And through the conversation, I can tell that this isn't something that my business would take on. So I said, before you go any further, I see that you're looking to hire an employee. If I was to take this on, it'd be as independent. I wouldn't be an employee, right? And what she was like, what do you mean? And I told him, I said, what you're looking for, I can easily do, but it's all about how much time it'll take me, how much I need invested. If anything, I would be remote. I have no problem going up there every other week or something like that. But this, I definitely would not be an employee to your company. And what you said, oh man, that's kind of like a deal breaker, you know. But if you are open to it, send over your resume, send over what you're asking, and then we can go from there. And which I said, okay, cool, sounds good. Have a good day. Fast forward about a week and a half, I want to say it was probably like 2 weeks. He gives me a call. Hey, I'm reaching out because I was a little disappointed. You know, I was looking out for your resume and I didn't see it. So I said, you know what? Let me just follow back up. In which I said, oh, thanks for giving me a call. I understand, but you made it very clear that if I was open to being an employee, then to send you both my resume and what I'm asking for monetarily. And because I made it clear that I wasn't, I didn't respond to your email or didn't send you an email back. And what she was like, you did say that. Okay, that makes sense, but what do you actually mean? In which I basically said, if I was to take this on, I'd have to figure out how many hours I need to allocate to make sure I can get you results for what you're asking. You're basically looking to get more of a return from your marketing efforts than what you currently are, right? I said, do you have anybody right now? He's basically said, no, we just let somebody go. They were fresh out of college and they didn't do that much for us. They were posting on social media, but that's not marketing. I said, that's not marketing. You need a strategy behind it. It's so much deeper than that. So long story less long, he basically says that at the end of the conversation, I'm open to seeing what you have to offer. Let's go back and forth via email to figure out time and date that works. So we go back and forth on email and we lock in a date and time. And for the sake of the video, let's just say Friday the 1st at 2 p.m., right? Cool. Let's fast forward to the day of. It's Friday morning of the 1st. Like 9 o'clock, I'm getting dressed, have everything ready, in which I get a call. He calls me like, hey, I hate to do this. I know it's really short notice, day of, but the owner has a stomach bug and he's trying to come in to still do it, but I don't want to get sick. I don't want anybody else here to get sick. Can we push it back a week? And which I confirm with him on the phone. I say, okay, cool. That's fine. I understand things happen. It is what it is. So we're on for Friday the 8th at 2 p.m. In which he says, yeah, that works. I said, okay, cool. Now, mind you, everything that I prepared is what I'm about to go over with you at the end of the story. So that next Friday comes, it's like 1:45, I'm in the parking lot, excited, I have everything ready, right? And I don't walk in at 2 o'clock. I walk in at like 1:55, like in the door at 1:55 to be just a little bit early, right? I get in there and the guy, first off, nobody's there. I ring the bell. I have to ring the bell like 2 times. And then a guy comes. I say, I have a 2 o'clock. And another guy comes up, the guy I was speaking to. He's like, man, you really came, huh? And I'm like, yeah, of course I came. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, we're supposed to be on at 1 o'clock. In which, in the moment, I'm just going through my brain like 1 o'clock. That makes no sense at all. And at that moment, I could have easily gone back and forth, and it could have gotten ugly. But at the same time, I had to stand my ground because I know what it was. We even reconfirmed for the exact same time 1 week later, right? So I said, no, I have 2 o'clock to be here, the same as last week before you rescheduled. And I'm here 5 minutes early, not an hour late. If I was late, I'd be here like maybe what? If it was 1 o'clock, I'd be here like 1:15, 1:20, like 1:05, something like that. In my mind, I'm early because that's what we agreed upon. And he stands his ground and says, no, it's not. And mind you, we have documentation. We had confirmed 2 o'clock on the 1st, and then we reconfirmed 2 o'clock on the 8th. And they believe 1 o'clock, which is fine, whatever. So he's like, the owner, he's furious. He's really mad. Again, this is all true story. He's like, he's really mad, man. Like, I don't even know if he'll see you. I can try, but he shouldn't have been late. In which I had to again say, well, that's why I got here on time at 2 o'clock that we agreed. I can go, but I have a whole bunch of stuff prepared for you. In which he's like, let me go talk to him, right? He walks away, comes back, he's like, he's really upset. He's really frustrated, but he'll give you 10 minutes. 10 minutes is all you got. And then we have meetings. We can't do this. In which I say, okay, let's do this. Like into my mind, I'm like, let's do this. I didn't just crack my neck to him and say, all right, man, crack, let's do this. So we proceed in which I get into his office. The main guy, he sits down right across from me. And to the right, you got the boss, the big boss, head down in his computer, just not even looking up, not even acknowledging KJC. So I can easily tell where this is going, right? And it's always good to have some excitement in your life. If everything went according to plan, how fun would it be, right? So I am prepared. I got full printouts ready, in which I tell them, I have this whole presentation ready. You've given me 10 minutes, regardless of the circumstance, and I'm going to make the most of it. As I say that to both of them, the main guy, he's just head down. He's like, so what do you got? I hand them both a pamphlet, boom, boom, right? In which I basically give them an overview of their company. I said, hey, in this position, you asked for a person that can do boom, 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 boom. And I can easily do for you boom, 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 boom for both your companies, right? And they're over there looking, got one guy got his glasses on, the other guy, he's still typing, he looks over, he doesn't open the packet or anything. I'm leading this right now. Go to the next page, in which I basically do an audit, in which I say, I did some research. I looked into your company, I looked into your personnel, and there's a couple things that I definitely would change regardless of your strategy and direction that you want to take the company. But here's some things surface level that you can do for your SEO, like your website. There were a couple things misspelled. There were a couple things just the kerning was off, the spacing was off, the hierarchy. Like I'm not even good when it comes to those minute details, but I'm in it all day, every day enough to really notice. And it sticks out to me at least like a sore thumb. The average person, average viewer might not notice it, but in my line of work, everything matters. So I not only pointed out everything that was wrong on the actual website, but also on the Google page, Google My Business. Then I go to their social media and I say, hey, these are the posts that you're doing. I'm not sure who your competitors directly are, but I found these 2 companies that are in or around what you're doing and what I see you doing. So again, depending on your goals, that might change, but this is what they're doing, this is what you're doing. You have somebody doing a post with 5-word caption and 20 hashtags when hashtags are already phased out. And that's just a very generic looking thing. There's no energy, there's no video, there's nothing, there's no life. In which Guy number one is looking through this. Oh man, this is impressive. Guy number two, he starts looking through it and he's like, "You're prepared, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am prepared. I'm taking this serious. I run a business, so I know what it's like, especially I don't like when people waste my time or when they're late. In this instance, I'm here and I'm going to give you what I got, right?" To which they said in their description that they wanted some new campaigns that were cutting edge, that are going to lead the industry. In which I came up with two campaigns. I said, "Here, I have completely laid out two campaigns, one for company A, one for company B. These are the physical copies. I'll email you your digital copies, and you can click on them and it'll open up the full campaign." Whereas you were looking for like a two-pronged strategy to tackle something, this is a five-pronged strategy. It starts here and it ends here. Only tapping into what I see that you guys have at your disposal, your reputation, and what you can do. I don't know your how aggressive or conservative you are in your marketing or spending a budget. This is all organic based off of what you have, right? And which guys, oh man, they were like, the guy that's somewhat reasonable is looking at this like, this is really impressive now. And the other guy, Mr. Madman, he went from typing in his computer not even looking to like, oh wow, like this is something. And granted, 10 minutes turned to 15 minutes. 15 minutes turned to 20 minutes. I thought you only had 10 minutes now. So the guy across from me said, honestly, we didn't have much faith in this. We only brought you in to see what's the difference between hiring an employee and bringing somebody like you in. In which I just started laughing. I'm like, well, first off, what you're asking for on this job description, you want somebody to do all this for you, and you're offering, I think their salary was like $50,000. I'm like, you're going to either have to poach somebody from a high level position that's already making like 120, and you're going to make sure that you appease them, and they're going to ask for an assistant for all these lesser items that they don't want to tackle or just they can't be dealt with, right? I said, anybody, and I remember this clear as day. I said, you guys apparently have been trying to fill this position for a couple months. I looked at what you had before and I could tell it wasn't moving the needle. You haven't found what you're looking for because you're trying to mark all these boxes. The difference is the preparation. The difference is the execution, and the difference is the results. Because I'm over here, I run a business, I understand the value of these things, and I know how they work with each other, and I know how it can benefit the rest of your company. You know, this isn't just for marketing. This marketing is also going to have assets for your sales. This is also going to have messaging across the company. Like I understand this stuff, in which 20 minutes or 25 minutes turned to 30 minutes. And that's when we had to get to a quote unquote hard stop kind of. But I'm proud to say Mr. Madman over there went from in his computer to looking through it to say, I can't lie, I am impressed. It's sad that you were an hour late, but this is really good stuff. I wasn't expecting this at all. It's so detailed and full. And which I told him, I said, hey, it is what it is. Whether you choose me or not, that's up to you. I have no ill will. If you don't choose me, still feel free to take these campaigns. They're winning campaigns. I created them. It is what it is, right? So guy across from me walks me out, blown away, completely different energy, just like, oh man, like this is really something, man. I really appreciate coming in. I hate the circumstance, but I hope we can get in contact with you soon, right? Now, it's my belief that Mr. Madman he was in his feelings a little too much. His pride was a little too high. I guarantee if somebody was recording that call, if they would have known it was for 2 o'clock, it wasn't for 1 o'clock. They didn't reach out for me for the passion project, but it is what it is. Was that a full like business to business proposal? No, ours is much more in depth. But what I'm getting at is this, and this is what I want you to take away from it. The preparedness, the level of intent I put behind that, let's just call it an interview, is the level in which I believe people now that are looking for a job are going to need to bring to the table, right? Again, like I said, it's not about working at getting a job at McDonald's and you coming in with a presentation. It's not about you answering calls at a call center, whatever it might be. This can be for entry level. This is definitely for mid level. This is definitely for high senior executive level as well. If you have a high position, you know by the time you get to interview 3 or 4, sometimes you do need to do some sort of presentation. What I'm saying is not on the phone interview, but in that first interview, you set the tone, you take control, you let them know, especially because they do know this is a transaction at the end of the day. They're not just hiring an employee that they gotta keep happy and promise a pension down the road. No, this is transactional, especially nowadays, right? So again, let's take it away from me, because as I always say, it's not about if I did it, you can do it. What can I do to help you guys? So I laid out a little bit beyond the story. I basically laid out the things that stood out there and the things that stand out for the people that I've helped through this. So number one, this level of preparation is now the baseline for serious roles. You have to take it seriously. And if you do already take it seriously, this is not a knock on you. We are overflowing with people that need jobs in comparison to the jobs that are available. And I say that for the jobs that can pay a good living wage. I'm not talking about anything minimum wage. I'm not talking about anything really sub 50, 60,000. Because unless you're in a household or you have roommates, you just can't afford to live sometimes. So whereas more people are going to need positions that pay much more money, how do you stand out? Well, we already got you the experience in this instance. You're bringing them to the table opposed to them bringing you to the table. This is truly how are we going to make this work opposed to can you please choose me? That's long gone, right? So when you prepare like a vendor, for instance, a video that just hit 10,000 views, W2 versus 1099. I talk about going into it as a vendor because a lot more people that are hiring might steer towards hiring people as 1099 contractors opposed to their employees. If I was to get 50K up front or 50K divided by 4 at the beginning of each month, that's being paid out like a vendor, like a contract. I'm not getting paid at the end of 40 hours, whatever it might be. But when you're preparing like a vendor, you're basically, and you're preparing this B2B pitch, this B2B proposal for this job that you want to secure, it's all about the research. It's all about the research. It's all about the research. I always say, and my business partner always says, and funny enough, he actually just said this to somebody. They said, hey, is research really that big? And he said, if I'm starting a lemonade stand tomorrow, I'm doing market research. You need to research, not the market in this instance, but you have to research the company. And I'm not talking about a Google search. I'm not talking about ChatGPT. I'm talking about go to their website. Go beyond that. Look at where they are mentioned. Look at their leadership. What have they done? You know, you're not doing it to judge them. You're getting information. You're getting information. You're reading the reviews. You're checking to see what gaps do they have that they're not aware of? What gaps are they trying to hide? You're just trying to get the full picture. And the more information that you consume in preparation for that interview, then you're going to be better off, right? Whereas my pitch proposal was like 7, 8 pages. Yours doesn't have to be that. Yours can easily be like 1 or 2 pages long. It can be a digital copy if it's via Zoom. If it's in person, print it out. You know, go to Staples, get it done. It's not that expensive. You're investing in yourself at this point. But you're basically going to document, okay, this is the problem, this is the strategy, and in the first 30 days that I'm employed, this is my plan, and this is the expected impact. Like these are the results I aim to get. And when you do this, you're starting to have an actual business conversation. Because really quickly, tangent, you tell people, or not you tell people, I tell people, and people are told, you know, when you go to work, act like you're the boss, act like you own it. And it's hard for people when they don't own the business or they don't like the business. They're like, why would I hate this job? Why would I act like the boss? If I was the boss, I'd fire everybody, starting with the boss, right? That's cool there. But in this instance, you do have to treat this like you're the owner of a business because it's you. It's beyond doing this for yourself. You're doing this for your loved ones, for your immediate family. If you have kids, if you have a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever it might be, you have to approach this and respect yourself as if you are a business in this transactional partnership with a company that we call an interview, which is now a B2B pitch, right? So you need to be putting together this proposal. You need to figure out how can you actually contribute to them, right? It's now more than ever, you have to be good at what you do, because if more qualified people are getting passed up, and if qualified people are all that are in these interviews, how do you stand apart? You stand apart by leading the charge instead of following the charge. You're going above and beyond in interview one. Whether you know that it's probably a 2 interview process, 3 interview process, and at the end of that, there is no need for a presentation, you still do it, right? Or if it is one of those mid or high tier and you know I'm going to need a presentation by interview 3 or 4, then you're still doing it in 1 and 2. Um, I'll get to not the caveats, but some of the drawbacks in a moment. But what you have to realize is you're in control, or you can be in control in the interview. The person that asks the questions controls the temperature, and they control the pace of the actual conversation. Now more than ever, whenever people that are hiring, they typically ask, what questions do you have first? Like the first thing, other than, hey, how you doing? How's your day? What questions do you have for me? And depending on the questions that a person asks, the interviewer tells them or gives them a good sense of how they would be as an employee. So we just put that aside and we just take an understanding that you need to lead the charge, you need to be in control, then you take that and you couple it with that you're doing this for more than just yourself. You're doing this for your family, for your loved one, for your spouse, for your boyfriend, for your girlfriend, for your kids. Then you understand that the negatives don't outweigh the positives. You might get the person that feels like you're just a little too ambitious on the first interview. You might get the person that says, why are you doing all this? You might get the person or the people, if it's a group interview, like, what? Like, this is the first interview. It's going to be 30 minutes long. Why do you have a presentation ready? Like, get out of here. That does happen, but that job's not meant for you. The job that you're going after is not a job to get the job done. It's a job so you can build some space, so you can breathe, so you can stack some money, build a legacy, do what you need to start a business. And entrepreneurship, I don't know who's speaking about entrepreneurship, but you're doing this for more than just you. And if you end up in an interview and you end up putting the time and energy to make a proposal just for somebody to look at you like you're doing the most, it's still a win for you. I promise. You might feel like, let me make myself smaller. Let me lessen myself so I can fit here. And I know, again, this is entrepreneurship for real people with real lives. I know how hard it is. Sometimes you gotta put lipstick on a pig to get the job done sometimes. But you shouldn't compromise on something that you know that needs to get done. If you're going through all this, if you're putting hundreds of applications in and it's not for a small just progression in your life, it's to change your life, then you go all in. You get the person that's looking at you like you're doing the most. And you leave an impression so that when they tell somebody, isn't this funny? Look at this person. This guy that goes by his full name, KJC, just applied for this position. This is the first interview and he had a whole 2-page presentation. Isn't that crazy? It could be the person that's listening to him that says, no, we need this at this company, that calls you directly. And that's not fantastical. That's not too out of it. That can actually happen. But I'm giving you the nuance of, in the event somebody looks down on, considers you're doing too much, and puts you in a position where you're like, should I? For every one of those, there's going to be 4 people that appreciate it. There's 4 people out of that 5 that are going to be like, you know what? They went above and beyond. They're leaving a lasting impression. They're moving on to the next step. And then the common question that I get when I help people with this is, well, KJC, I got you. I'm going to put this proposal together, right? Interview 1, read the description, and I made the proposal. Interview 2, you said I need a second proposal. So I'm going to, fill the gaps that I heard them talking about. But this is 4 interviews. I still got 2 more. And they're not expecting a presentation until the 4th. What if I blow my load? For lack of a better term. And what I say is, be better. If you're putting in the time to succeed, then succeed. Now, you don't control if you get hired, but all you can do is put as many things you can put as many things backing the decision. You can put as many things in your favor as possible. And what you can do is separate from the norm. If it takes you learning a little bit more about that company, the business, the industry, your role, how you can affect others, be more beneficial. If it takes that to get the job, then look at that. You bettered yourself so you can get the job. It wasn't luck or happenstance that made it happen. It was your determination. Like, if you put everything in your first 2 and you don't think you have something else in the last 2, I challenge you to question yourself and say, you know what? I think I do. I have more in me. I can push further. I can push harder. Because as a business owner, if you enter entrepreneurship, you're a problem solver. And if the problem is, I did well enough on the first 2 interviews, but I still got 2 more and I don't know what to talk about, read, do some research, figure out what you're going to talk about, create something, come from a different side, just go all in. That's what you need to start doing. So if we understand that there's a slight chance that it might not be perceived as the best, but there's a good chance that it will. And if we know that this will help us stand out and potentially progress, and we do know that we're doing this to change our lives, to better our lives, to secure our future with this, then it should be an easy decision to go all in. You're not going in an interview, you're going into a potential partnership. So you have to treat it as such. And again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert. It doesn't matter if you're an extrovert. What I will say, that the secret to this is knowing what you're talking about. When you know what you talk about, then you won't have as much fear, because you're just going deep into what you know, and you can have fun with that. Your personality shows, right? But if you're just faking it till you make it and you don't know what you're talking about, it will show, or it can show. So my advice to you is, if the interview is a week away, 2 weeks away, whatever it might be, use that time, as much of your free time, make time if need be, to familiarize yourself on how you can not only do well in that role, but how you can contribute to the company. Because they're going to understand that, they're going to feel that. And this is just another way that you can stand out. This is another way that you can really get everything going. And honestly, I said this in the other video, it's much easier to take this tone, take lead, puff your chest out, speak with so much confidence if you already have a livelihood and a job. For those that don't have a job and they're hearing me say this, they can be like, yo, like, I just need to get something. I understand. But you haven't gone this far just to get this far, as they say. So there are people that don't have a job. They hear this and they're going to be like, I have 1 in 5 is going to think I'm doing the most. And at that point, I don't get the job. And that's the only person that called me back. You can only do what you feel is right to do in that moment. And that's all I'm going to tell you. So again, regardless of if you need a job in 2026, I hope you don't need a new job. But even if you are going after one, I feel we're going to see more people talking about this, more articles, stuff like that. But again, we don't follow trends, we lead them over here. I've been going well over 30 minutes. I thought this was going to be an efficient episode. Yeah. It's easy to have an owner mindset when you understand that it's your future and the people that support you and that you support are relying on you. If you made it this far, hit that subscribe button. If you're looking for a one-on-one session about yourself, career path, entrepreneurship, because this is everything entrepreneurship. Once you're in the job, I can help you. Let me stop there. Hit the link in the bio, do the thing, hit subscribe if you haven't, share this with somebody else that needs this. And I hope you have a good rest of your week. Just believe in yourself and only focus on your next best step. So with that being said, talk to you guys in the next one.